Well, this is a sight that hasn't been seen on the channel in a while. Yeah, but welcome back to the garage. It's been a crazy few weeks, just traveling and driving and getting things done, spending time with the family. It's been a lot. So, well, I've got a short little break today. I have to get some Fiesta stuff done because let me fill you in on what's been going on. So, I have the Utah Challenge. I think it's called the Beehive Challenge or something like that. It must be some Utah thing I don't know about. So I'll be doing the Beehive Challenge, and it's a Rallycross Tour. It's kind of like they did last year with the Rallycross Nationals challenges, but now they're calling it tours, so I'm not sure why. I'm taking the Fiesta. So I'm going to probably end up renting a U-Haul trailer if I don't find a trailer before that, but the Fiesta and I will be going out to Utah, hopefully with the family too, if they get a chance, and we're going to go do some racing out there. But that leads me to some sad news, but I hate to say it, but the wagon and I will not be going to Moab, at least not yet. And the reason is, I've ran out of time. With the wagon, there's a lot of things that I really need to just tear down and take apart before I take it on a big journey like that, because that's 1,000 miles one way. And between working out logistics and making sure all the wagon's taken care of, I just haven't had the time to put all that together. The wheels came in, the new wheels for the wagon. A quick too long didn't read version is I've got to do some chassis bracing, because when I do some off-roading in that wagon, little off-camber stuff, like if I'm parked on kind of an off-camber hill, you can't hardly close the back gate. So I know the chassis is flexing quite a bit, so I want to focus on that for the next build. I want to tear down, take everything back off, do some chassis sifting on the front and back, do some strut tower braces and whatnot. But that's going to take some time, and that's just time I don't have right now. But in the meantime, the schedule for right now, get the Fiesta up and ready. I've got some goodies for it that I'll be showing you in this video. So the things I need to do the Fiesta, Skidplateguy came through, got me a new skid plate for this thing. So he's one of my sponsors, and thank you Chris, you rock. I'm gonna put a new skid plate on this. I've got new clamps because you saw my last video. One of my clamps had actually worn itself in half because I bent the skid plate up in one part. So a clamp that was on my intercooler piping was being rubbed in half. And the factory, like intercooler pipes and clamps on those things are just hot garbage. So I am going to go ahead and replace those. These are the mount tune kit that has the entire intercooler system. I've had some qualms about mount tune stuff before on the car, so hopefully this will work. So between the clamps and the skid plate, I think that'll be just about it. And then just kind of check everything else, make sure it's all good. And actually, you know what? Never mind. I do have something else. So I got a package in from 2JR Racing. So this will go. It'll go with the turbo, and it goes up and hides the filter up inside the cowl there. So what that'll do for me is that'll get rid of this cross pipe. The inlet for the turbo goes up and over the engine, across the engine, back over to a filter over here. That'll instead bring the filter straight up and in here, giving it nice fresh cold air to get into the turbo instead of this, hot recycled air. And it comes with the K&N kit and also a filter sleeve, so that'll keep all the water and dirt and moisture out of there. So I'll be throwing that kit on today also, hopefully, but stay tuned. So if you look right here, one of my rallies I was at, actually I bent this bracket. This bracket here is for the skid plate. It actually hit that and was rubbing the intercooler piping on top of that bolt or whatever that was there. And what it did is it just wore that clamp right in half. So what I did to fix it on the field is I got some zip ties and put 2 strong zip ties, just pulled them as tight as I could. And they've been lasting ever since. I've been making about 26 to 27 pounds of boost on zip ties. So there you go. In a pinch, make sure you carry plenty of zip ties. It's kind of the rule of any kind of car racing or off-roading or anything. Zip ties are king. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is replace all the clamps everywhere with brand new ones from Mount Tune, and hopefully that'll help settle it. And also, that is the new skid plate right there. So we will get that put on as well. Alright, we've got the clamps replaced underneath. Old skid plate is off. Before I go ahead and put the new skid plate on though, I want to go ahead and start getting this all prepped up and ready to go in, because I think from the bottom it may be easier to get a hold of that turbo inlet there. So I'm going to go ahead and start unbolting all that stuff, get the cowl taken off and everything else that needs to be on. One thing about the 2JR intake, a lot of people say, is it makes a lot of noise. And of course, it's going to be right there in my cowl, so you'll be able to hear everything the turbo does. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, at least not for me. This is race car, supposed to be race car, not a daily driver. I don't care if it's loud on the inside, makes some turbo noises, it's still gonna be rad. But just in case, I bought a little bit of sound deadening. So I will probably put a little bit of sound deadening up on the firewall, kind of like where underneath the cowl somewhere, just to get a little bit of wrap in, plus it looks kind of cool. Alright, so I've taken everything apart, so it's kind of like a meme with the Fiesta. If you gotta do any kind of maintenance to the car, take the headlights out. Like, seriously, like I had to take the cowl apart, and when I did that, gotta take the headlights out. But the good thing is, they're fairly simple. There's literally a bolt here, a bolt here, puts the headlight back and just pops out, so at least it's easy. So you can see I got the wipers off, all the cowl stuff off. It really wasn't all that hard to just try to figure out what was bolted where. So what I'm gonna do now is I cut out this piece of sound deadening material, and it's got a self-adhesive backing to it that you'll just peel off here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to shape it up and kind of do a contour on either side of that vent. It's still going to let a lot of noise in there with that vent being right there, because that's where my fresh air comes from. It comes with all the extensions you need to get the MAF sensor and all that stuff to the other side, plus all the other extra hoses and extensions. And I apologize about the garage being a mess. I have not had time to clean this. But besides that, we're going to go back. I'm going to lay this up in here. I'm going to kind of trace out where that vent is, get it all kind of shoved up in there, trim it out how I need to, and then we'll see how it looks. Well, if that looks like it was a really easy install, you are completely incorrect. It's not easy, but it's whatever. So there's a lot of fishing around. It's a one-piece pipe, so everything has to fit in one swoop. Like, you have to tuck it under here, and like has to fight here. You can see some scrapes on top of this from me fighting it in there. But it's all tight. All the plugs are in there. All the extension cables are over here. Ran into a few problems, so there is an adapter actually for the 2016 to 2019 Fiesta ST. But I kind of made my own until I get those in, so we'll deal with that. So the sound deadening's in there. I know it's not going to make a world of difference, but it looks cool and it makes me feel a little bit better that it may be not so boomy and echoey in there. But yeah, I'm going to give it a test start, make sure it starts up fine, nothing's going crazy before I start putting it all back together. Well, it looks like it starts up fine, nothing crazy. It's not making any extra noise than it wasn't before. It's a loud motor anyway, just that direct injection light. Well, I'm going to go ahead and button it up. Actually, I may go ahead and take it for a test drive right now, like this, around the block. Alright, I'll be back. Well, just went on a quick little test drive around the block, and wow, that noise. You literally hear every single thing the turbo is doing. It's nuts. It's your compressor surge, you hear the blow off valve, you hear everything just immediately. It sounds like the turbo is sitting like on your shoulder. So they weren't lying, that is loud. And it's gonna be something to get used to because it's gonna be really hard to stay out of the throttle with that thing now. I made a little bit more boost than I usually do, so I'm kind of iffy about that. I'm gonna watch that. So along with the new skid plate, I actually had me and the skid plate guy have been researching some foam. Basically what you want to do with this high density foam is put it underneath your oil pan. So it kind of acts as a barrier between your skid plate and your oil pan. That way if a rock gets in there, it doesn't jam between your oil pan and your skid plate, then a hit knocks that rock into your oil pan. So you don't want that. So that's what this foam is going to do. It's actually going to rest in between the two. And actually this little provision here is for the transmission as well. Thank you, Chris. I think it's going to work perfectly. And the new shiny plate is on. You can see Skidplateguy sticker there. You can see your reflection in it. It's so shiny. It'll be put to good use though. So the foam is in between the oil pan and the transmission and the skid plate. So basically what I was explaining earlier, if a rock was to deflect, go up in there, and it got wedged in between the oil pan and the skid plate, if it got stuck there and then a big hit it, usually it'll pile drive that rock through this oil pan, and that's not a good day. So that's why we had the foam there. And a lot of stage guys use that as a protectant, and we decided to go ahead and do that with ours. So new plate's in, looks fantastic. Cannot wait to get this thing good and marred up. So with that done and the engine all back together, looks all bare over here now. All you can see is my beautiful Melee design battery box, which is still doing fantastic, and it looks fantastic as always. Intake, you can see it poking up in there. Looks nice and fancy. Cowl's back together, everything's back together. Now just test drive time. So you'll hear on just normal, like, backing out of the driveway and stuff, there's zero noise. Ace is waving by to me. He really wanted to go for a test drive, but I didn't have time to move the car seat over. So like I was saying, on normal driving, you can't really hear anything. Just a cracked throttle, it sounds like there's a bearing rubbing. There's actually the suction coming from that thing. And wow, that makes so much awesome noise. I'm gonna get it up to running temperature before I do anything crazy with it, but just that little bit of throttle, fantastic. This will be my first actually highway drive with it. That's no real throttle, that's just normal driving. It sounds like there's a speaker in here generating turbo noises. It's so crisp and clean, you can hear everything. Well, I hope it picks up well on the mic, because that's ridiculous. It's just silly. And like I said, I've only made 16 pounds of boost, so I really hadn't even got into it yet. It's like crack like throttle. That's 26 pounds. It's so crazy sounding. Well, that concludes that. Everything's nice and happy. It makes boost really loud, as you could probably tell. But anyway, we're gonna get some dinner with the family, and then we gotta prepare for some Mother Day's shenanigans. So, happy Mother's Day to your mothers out there, and if I know your mother personally, happy Mother's Day. Anyway, peace guys.